In the light of day, the devastation of the fire was obvious, destroying the bowling club annex and the RSL club's games room and sub-branch kitchen. The annex had been built in 1982 by bowlers' voluntary labour. Replacement cost is estimated at $750,000. But what couldn't be seen and cannot be replaced were the wealth of trophies, award boards and a winning badge display, all burnt beyond recognition. The rest of the RSL club was saved from the same fate by a special firewall between the two buildings, financed by the Bowlers' Women's Auxiliary.
And that predominantly was the reason that the club proper was saved, plus the prompt action of the fire brigade at the time. It's going to cause extreme difficulty, certainly for the bowlers and our snooker players, who have also lost both of their snooker tables at this time. And it's going to mean an extensive rebuild of certainly 50% of the club.
But members were determined to play on. The charred bowls were dusted down before a home match today. Only hours after the blaze, firemen were called to another bowling club fire, this time in the rooftop air conditioning system at the entrance bowling club. The fire brigade say the recent fires are not related. Rebecca Skinner, NBN News.
Up until now, this was the way you built a brick wall in Australia. Mix the mortar and lay the bricks one by one. Prior to the Newcastle earthquake, this was a more than suitable building method. However, the limitations of the humble brick came to the fore on December 28. Now, corporate giant CSR has combined with a German company, Hebel, to introduce this new building product to Australia. Together, they've spent $32 million on a modern factory at Somersby on the Central Coast. While the equipment is new, the process is more than 50 years old. Why has it taken so long to come to Australia, do you think?
The high capital costs of these plants mean that only some of the bigger players have been able to afford the capital to erect this type of plant.
The blocks and panels are actually calcium silicate, which has been aerated to make a strong, light material. The product has the useful features of being fireproof and a good insulator, while still being workable with normal tools. Tradesmen can lay the blocks like normal bricks, although instead of mortar, a special adhesive is used to bind the layers. Once on site, it's easy to saw, nail, or route the material to suit, as this demonstration shows. The process itself is simple. Sand, lime and cement are mixed in this ball mill. A fine slurry is pumped out and then mixed with aluminium paste. That forms hydrogen gas, which aerates the material, making it light while retaining the strength. The material is then moulded and cut into shape while still soft. It's then cured under pressure and at 180 degrees Celsius to remove the water and complete the chemical reaction. Metal reinforcing can be added to strengthen longer panels. The result is a material which can resist earthquakes.
Well, the main advantage is that it ties together as a single unit, but also the mass of the unit. It's a fifth the weight of concrete.
And why is that important under earthquake applications?
Well, in an earthquake, it's the acceleration of the ground which causes most of the damage. And if you have a building that's a high mass, that mass times the acceleration gives you a high force. Now, if you can reduce the mass, you've reduced the force on the building.
Premier Greiner officially opened the facility this morning, claiming the plant would be a boom for the Central Coast. But with just 20 people operating the automated factory on any one shift, the boom won't be in new jobs on this plant. John Church, NBN News.
Here in Morpeth, Anzac Day was commemorated with the unveiling of a war memorial dedicated to the 9 men of the area who died during World War II. For the friends and relatives of those men, it was a special day, which brought back a flood of memories. 3 of the 9 men who died during the war were teachers at Morpeth Public School. Principal Bill Steinbeck was a prisoner of war for 4 years. He died just 1 month before peace was declared. His sister and cousin were at today's ceremony, the first time they've seen each other in more than 70 years.
Has it been a long time since you've been back to Morpeth?
Yes, many years.
see Ethel. Ethel's my first cousin. We haven't seen each other for 70 years. We used to come and Aunt Annie used to have a property out of Brisbane Fields, I think it was. And I used to come up, that's many years ago. We used to come up for holidays, you know.
For the family of Flight Officer Donald Gibson, it was the first time they'd been in the township where their brother first taught.
He was teaching at the Morpeth Public School. It was his first appointment as a teacher.
And he enlisted straight away?
Yes, virtually straight away.
Although it's been more than 4 decades since many of these people have met, time has not lessened the memories.
Do you have a lot of memories of your brother?
Oh, yes. Yes, he was our favourite brother, being the oldest.
Alison Peters continues the Anzac Day report from New Lambton.
Cessnock police had no fear of these birds flying the coop. The giant wedge-tail eagle was firmly nailed to its perch, and this was definitely an ex-hawk. Police recovered the stuffed quarries after an anonymous telephone tip-off late last night. The muffled voice told them they'd find the plumaged plunder at the Aberdare cemetery. Constable Jenny Choice doesn't like cemeteries at the best of times, let alone late at night.
Well, we just, the gates were open, so we just went down and we were having a look, and all of a sudden this bird loomed up in our headlights. It looked as if it was about to take off when we were driving towards it. It scared the life out of us.
What bizarre rituals had these glass eyes seen before being surrendered to the law? Police say they had heard rumours that the valuable trophies were being hawked around the local hotels by the thieves, but the birds were clearly turning into albatrosses around their necks. The birds will be returned to the Shortland Wetlands Centre on Monday.
With Tina Turner belting out the league message, the public has responded with increased numbers, and with football being played like this, why wouldn't they? At Illawarra yesterday, a record crowd to see the Saints spoil the day for the Steelers, but it's an encouraging sign for a team that has struggled over the years, and great for the game of rugby league. The National Basketball League continues to grow at an alarming rate, and already this year, after only 39 games, the crowds are up a staggering 14%, and the action is fast and furious. Down south, the fanatical Melbourne public have braved the sunshine of the southern state in increased numbers. The Australian Football League gates are up 12.8%, with already 891,580 spectators watching their teams go round. And with matches like the St Kilda-Collingwood match from Saturday, which was won by the Woods in a cliffhanger and drew over 67,000, it won't surprise anyone to see that percentage lifted a long way before the season's finished.
In March this year, changes were made to the rail timetables between Newcastle and all stations on the Maitland line. According to City Rail representative John Santiotis, the changes were made in order to rationalise train services. He said before the alterations, many trains were running with less than 50% of their maximum passenger capacity. Mr Santiotis said that while the changes did inconvenience some passengers, they were in the minority, and said City Rail was not going to run services for the sake of running services. According to City Rail statistics, the new timetables favour growth areas and not those stations that were previously under-patronised. Commuters' complaints were that there were no longer enough trains running in off-peak times, and those that did run weren't compatible with city bus timetables. There were also complaints about the unreliability of trains, particularly those running from Dungog. It was a small but vocal crowd, suggesting perhaps, as one commuter put it, many believed it was too late to make a difference.
They're on the road with 200 basket, net and soccer balls. A squad of super coaches including Australian and Olympic basketballer Damien Keogh, Australia's Hall of Fame netballer Anne Sargent, national soccer team captain Charlie Yankos and sporting broadcaster Norman May.
Bring round great Australian champions in all sports and take them all over New South Wales is a massive undertaking, but it's a very good thing for the development of sport and the finding of champions in the future, because that's where they are in places like Newcastle.
Held in conjunction with the Department of Sport and Recreation, the clinic should reach more than 2,500 10 to 12-year-olds throughout the state before June. 170 children from 8 local schools learned the finer points of heading, receiving and passing. Local falcon Michael Johnson lent a hand and Norman May did put away a basket.
Good, that's excellent. Excellent here, great.
Insurance company managers and loss adjusters have just completed a meeting to update the current state of insurance claims settlements. Regional Manager of the Insurance Council of Australia, Chris Henry, says the anticipated flood of claims seems to have stalled.
So far, only 1,300 building approvals in earthquake-related damage have been given by the Newcastle City Council, and yet we know there are many thousands of jobs out there.
Newcastle City Council agrees that building applications just aren't appearing at the expected level. Assuming owners are keen to have their claims settled, it appears the delays are with the builders.
The builders have had to quote on many jobs, and again they're facing the same sort of situation everybody is, that there's just so many jobs to attend to.
Mr Henry says insurance companies will be working to speed up the development application process, which must be approved before claims can be settled. One way to accelerate that procedure is to ensure that builders put in accurate estimates.
If it is seen that a builder has exaggerated his quote for some reason or other, he would be called to task for that. Now if he's not prepared to quote in a proper manner, well then an alternative quote would be necessary. It's in the interests of the property owner to ensure that they obtain a quote from a builder who is quoting in a proper way and competently, and that will speed up the process in the claim settlement.
The cliff was one of the few breaks working with clean 1 metre waves. High calibre surfers from 9 schools between the Central Coast and Nelson Bay contested the open, junior and girls classes. It was a team's elimination event to find the Eastern Zone squad for the state titles. Selection could also lead to the Australian Championships in Western Australia next September. Contest organiser Dave Ringland says the local surfers are hard to beat.
This region here has for the last 4 years won the Australian Championship, and the competition is very strong. A lot of the top name surfers around Newcastle at present have gone through these competitions.
Names such as Nicky Wood, Luke Egan and Matt Hoy. The only prerequisite for school surfing is a pass in the Surf Skills Survival Test, which for today's conditions could have included an ability to rip, tear and milk a ride to the beach. Francis Xavier, Nelson Bay and Terrigal edged Newcastle out of selection, but the Newcastle girls team has won a chance at the state title on the South Coast next week. In the juniors, Newcastle, Terrigal, The Entrance and Nelson Bay will surf at Old Bar this weekend.
Terrigal was once a sleepy fishing village, but all that is rapidly changing. Peppers-on-Sea has helped attract thousands of tourists, but locals say basic amenities like parking facilities have been forgotten.
Parking and traffic generation is the primary consideration. The Chamber, I don't think, is opposed to redevelopment of commercial areas, providing they are held within the current guidelines.
Those guidelines are for two-storey developments. This four-storey proposal for shops and home units, currently before Gosford Council, stretches across two existing banks, the police station and medical centre. Locals and the Chamber of Commerce are objecting to its size and what they say are inadequate parking facilities. They believe other major shopping developments are following hot on its heels, offering a possible 58 extra shops when existing stores are being forced to close.
The curbside parking is planned to be literally cut out in front of our shop and other areas within the town. We're losing customers all the time because of the reduced parking, and the rents will be such that most of the shops will have extreme difficulty in maintaining their viability.
We feel that people are staying away in Terrigal because it is inconvenient now. It's losing its essence as a seaside village.
Gosford Council says Peppers and other developments have not provided sufficient car parking, but have made up the shortfall in cash contributions towards a car park trust fund. So far, this only stands at $500,000. Even if council-owned land here is used, at least $3 million extra will still have to be found to finance a parking facility. Rebecca Skinner, NBN News.
Environment Minister Tim Moore was a politician in his element today, delivering news sure to bring a smile to the face of Hunter homeowners. Unlike most government charges, water tariffs will actually fall for most local people in 1990. According to Water Board estimates, 55% of residential customers will pay less than last year. 17% will face an increase of 4%, still a reduction in real terms. 10% will face an increase of 6%, and the remainder will have their rates increased in line with the Consumer Price Index. For an average household, that will mean a reduction of less than $10 on previous years. But for those in more affluent areas, the savings could be substantial.
The basis of the whole structure is to have the base cost of the system paid for on an equitable basis. And we are able to do that in a fashion that doesn't drop pain on the most hurt or working class family in the Water Board's area.
The move will cost the government $8 million in revenue, but the Minister says the region needs all the help it can get.
The Board has made substantial savings. It will be able to carry out its program on both environmental and other works as planned without raising extra revenue for its customers, and we felt the savings should be passed back to the people of the region.
100 jobs were slashed from the Water Board payroll last year, saving the utility $6 million and making the reduced rates possible. It's not yet known whether more jobs will go in the future.
After 28 years of operation, NBN had accumulated a daunting backlog of old films, commercials and company records. A call for help went out to the Hunter Development Board, which, in conjunction with the Skillshare Employment Training Program, enlisted 19 unemployed people to take part in an Australian first. A 15-week course was devised to teach skills such as archiving, databasing, management principles and stock accounting using a working company's records.
Most companies would not allow people to do that. NBN has given this course the option to do that and learn skills that they would not be able to learn any other way. We have had a lot of companies that are very interested in the skills these people have earned and learnt in this course.
These corporate cleaners have shredded, swept and stacked their way through mounds of old files. And today NBN not only got its floor space back, but a fully programmed computer archive system. This song, composed by student Patrick O'Brien, reflects the satisfaction of learning new skills. It's hoped the course may be adopted by the Education Department, but for now its organisers are confident that these students will all find jobs when they graduate in 7 weeks' time.
Believe it or not, athletics does exist in the Newcastle and Lake Macquarie areas and is reasonably happy with the number of participants the sport attracts. Chad Stevenson and Paul Henderson are just two youngsters who have come to state and national prominence in recent times. But their main training facility, the Newcastle Athletics Track and National Park, is literally falling to pieces. A committee has been formed to mount a campaign to either renew the track and surrounds or find an alternative venue, such as the university. Today, a leading expert on tracks worldwide, Detlef Jobke of the German firm Voigt, was in town to inspect the site with the steering committee. And after only a short time, he agreed that Newcastle is a suitable site for the renewal of the track, but with major surgery.
Top surface would be a single layer. That means a single homogeneous polyurethane surface. That is a surface we have put in the Bruce Stadium in Canberra, in Sydney, the ES Marks, Olympic Park and Perry Lake Stadium. And that layer is almost indestructible. And that would be the best, but of course it's also the most expensive surface you can get.
When questioned as to the cost, he neatly high-jumped the first attempt, but conceded as he crossed the line.
Well, we are at the 500,000.
On SportsCentre Sunday this week, Gerald Lawson from the steering committee talks about the visit of Mr Jobke and the new proposals in depth.